The sound came again, feet crashing against dry leaves. My heart froze. I was in the wilderness, alone, but something was out there. And whatever it wasn't animal. It was fast, deliberate. I'd hear it pass my tent at irregular intervals, leaving me gripping my pistol in the suffocating dark. It began the first night and didn't stop until... Well, I'll get to that. But first, let me tell you how I ended up in that cursed forest. The wilderness has always been my escape, my refuge when life became too loud. It's where I've always found peace, far from the hum of city life and the clamor of human interaction. I've spent countless nights under starlit skies, listening to the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. But this time, my retreat would challenge everything I thought I knew about solitude. After years of chaos abroad, another solo trip into the woods was long overdue. I'd been eyeing this campsite for months, a hidden gem for the lone traveler. Reviews raved about its peace and untouched beauty. An outdoor haven where campers were spaced out far enough to feel utterly alone. Just my style. With a week's worth of supplies and my trusty Beretta 92 pistol packed, I set off. The drive was uneventful, but when I arrived at the reception office, something felt off. The building seemed abandoned, though the reviews had said otherwise. The air inside was heavy, pressing on me like an unseen force. I chalked it up to excitement or nerves. Behind the counter, an old man shuffled in. He was ancient, his deeply wrinkled face a map of time, but his energy betrayed his appearance. Friendly and talkative, he laid out the rules of the campsite. I half listened, eager to begin my adventure, until he began rambling about the area's history, stories about its past lives, or some nonsense. He mentioned things about the forest's odd patterns and whispered warnings of those who had vanished. His voice dropped as he mentioned a time loop and an unseen presence. I dismissed him, took the keys to the forest gate, and headed off. The hike to the campsite was longer than expected. The map promised 2 miles, my legs swore it was more like 5. The towering trees cast long shadows as the sun dipped below the horizon. By the time I reached the gate, dusk had fallen. Strangely, the key didn't fit the lock. My frustration outweighed my better judgment, so I climbed over the gate, tossing my bag down before following. I walked deeper into the woods, stopping at the first flat patch of ground I could find. Exhausted, I pitched my tent and prepared to cook dinner. But sleep overtook me before I could light the fire. That night, I woke to the sound of footsteps. Not the soft pad of paws, but the unmistakable rhythm of 2 feet crashing through dry leaves. My pulse quickened. Grabbing my pistol, I unzipped the tent and stepped into the cold night air. My flashlight cut through the darkness, but nothing moved. Returning to my sleeping bag, I barely settled in before the sound came again, closer this time. Once more, I grabbed my weapon and searched the area. Again, nothing. The 3rd time it happened, I stayed in the tent, clutching my pistol, waiting for dawn. Morning brought little comfort. Outside the tent, I noticed a burnt-out fire. I hadn't lit one the night before. Confusion crept in. Was someone here? Had I done this in my exhaustion and forgotten? Either way, I decided one night was enough. The forest, however, had other plans. Packing up, I began retracing my steps. The map was clear, the gate wasn't far. But after an hour, I realized I was walking in circles. The trees all looked the same, save for a few anomalies. A gray-marked redwood shaped like an eagle's head. A decaying tree with hollowed-out bark. Each passed me again and again, no matter which direction I went. The forest was playing tricks on me. Exhaustion overtook me, and I collapsed in a pile of dry leaves. I woke to the same sound that had haunted me the night before, footsteps. But this time, I wasn't shielded by the thin fabric of my tent. My flashlight swept the darkness, and I fired 2 rounds in the direction of a fleeting shadow. Nothing. Then, the sound came from behind. I spun and fired again. Still nothing. I emptied my clip into the empty forest, my heart pounding with every shot. With no bullets left and no idea what pursued me, I ran. I could hear it behind me, matching my pace. Adrenaline coursed through me as I sprinted through the endless maze of trees. Miraculously, I stumbled upon the gate. This time, it was open. I didn't question it. I bolted through and didn't stop until I reached the reception office. The building was dark, abandoned. The old man was nowhere to be seen. My car, thank God, was where I'd left it. I drove home, hands trembling on the wheel. Weeks have passed, but the memory lingers. I've tried rationalizing the events, but nothing makes sense. Was it all a hallucination, a trick of exhaustion and isolation? Or had I stumbled into something far beyond comprehension? Sometimes, I dream of the forest, its towering trees, its endless loops, the sound of feet on dry leaves. I can't stay away. My bag is packed, and I'm ready to return. The website for the campsite has vanished, but I remember the directions. This time, I'll listen to the old man. This time, I'll be ready.